You're listening to the Quint podcast.
While vaccine companies are rushing to seek authorization for emergency use in India, there are quite a few people who are skeptical about taking a vaccine against COVID 19. Vaccine hesitancy is the buzzword, and this hesitancy is different from anti vaccine sentiments. People genuinely have questions about safety, efficacy, adverse events, and the speed with which developments have taken place. So far, 3 vaccine groups Serum Institute's Covishield, which is the Indian name of the vaccine being developed by Oxford-AstraZeneca, Covaxin, which is India's swadeshi vaccine being developed by Bharat Biotech, and the vaccine candidate being developed by Pfizer and BioNTech have sought emergency approval in India. And Russia, which is also readying to seek the DCGI's approval, has tied up with Dr. Reddy's lab to conduct trials in India. So before some of these vaccines actually hit the market, we take all the questions around vaccine hesitancy to virologist Dr. Shahid Jamil. You're tuned in to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline-making news for you. And I'm your host, Shalpuri. One thing that has been repeatedly said is that vaccines before this have taken much, much longer to develop. And so in a way, this is record-breaking what vaccine developers are doing with the coronavirus vaccine. And the most common retort is, does this mean that these are rushed vaccines that skipped safety checks or perhaps bowed down to political pressure? Virologist and director of Trivedi School of Biosciences at Ashoka University, Dr. Shahid Jamil explains why vaccines before this have taken longer to develop and how a quick vaccine doesn't mean it's an unsafe one.
Okay, so firstly, I think it's important to understand that we are really looking at history. This is the first time in the history of human disease that a pandemic will be controlled using vaccines. So it's really a historic moment. Never earlier this has been done. Now, so you have to understand what has really happened, why vaccines which used to take about 10 years to develop have been developed in less than a year. Two things have happened. One is that the processes earlier used to be sequential. So you do the research, then you do animal trials, and once animal trials are done, you get approval for phase 1 in humans. Once that is over, you go to phase 2, then phase 3. Approval happens, and only when efficacy is proven, then companies start building facilities to make vaccines. All that takes time. Now, in between every step, there is a regulatory approval. That regulatory approval also used to take months. That timeline has been compressed from months to days now. So that's the big change. The other big change is that many of the steps are now running in parallel. So you may have seen that even before complete animal data came out, phase 1 had started. Similarly, phase 1 and phase 2 permission was given together. So as you are getting near the end of phase 1, you can start phase 2. Because basically phase 1 and phase 2 are similar. It's just that in phase 2, you have much higher numbers compared to phase 1. Similarly, phase 2 and phase 3 have gone on at the same time. Now, to show whether a vaccine works or not, you have to depend upon the human immune system. And the human immune system remains the same today as it was last year or the year before or 10 years ago. The human immune system hasn't changed. You need to get 2 shots, and you need to get those shots at least 3 to 4 weeks apart. That is still happening. Nothing has changed. The other thing is, emergency use approval only comes after you have, after 2 months have passed since the last vaccine injection. That is still happening. Now, there is a scientific reason why 2 months, why not 3 months, why not 1 month? The reason simply is that while most adverse effects show up in the first week, a majority of adverse events, a large majority, will show up in about 6 weeks' time. If you have had no adverse events within 6 weeks, you are unlikely to have any adverse events beyond that. So that's why 2 months. So the science has been followed. It's just that things have been compressed to speed up things where we could speed things up. There are things which we couldn't speed up and they haven't been sped up. I don't really see any political pressure, really. I mean, a few things have happened. One is that all big pharma companies, all big vaccine manufacturers globally came together on one platform and said, we are not going to cut corners. We're not going to come under political pressure. We are just going to do what we're supposed to do. That is to develop a safe and efficacious product, whatever time it takes. But we would like it to be developed as quickly as possible. So you would remember the US president was putting a lot of pressure. Did anything happen? No pressure was, nobody succumbed to pressure. Even in India, you saw that there was something to say that, vaccine must come out by 15th of December. And you've seen the backlash that happened.
August as well, yeah.
Exactly, of 15th August. So nothing happened after that. I think, if anything, pharma companies, vaccine companies have been reassured of support at the highest level. When has it happened that the Prime Minister himself visited these facilities? So I think there's been a lot of reassurance. I don't think there's been any political pressure.
While in the US and the UK there have been reports of adverse events amongst receivers of the Pfizer vaccine candidate, in India too there have been some concerning events with Covishield. While the Serum Institute wants to manufacture 1 million doses by year end, its ambitious plans aside, there's a lawsuit filed against it by a trial participant from Chennai who's seeking 5 crores in damages over developing neurological reactions after taking the vaccine in the trials, and he also wants further trials and manufacturing of the vaccine to be suspended as he claims them to be unsafe. Although on its part, the Serum Institute said that it had followed the due process, should this kind of event deter people from being vaccinated? The fact that vaccine groups are hurrying for an emergency authorization in India and other countries as well, even as such events are occurring, should this raise safety concerns? Dr. Jamil says that it's not the company which we should be depending on for a safety guarantee, but the drug controllers on what they deem as safe. He also says that so far the drug controllers' responses to the various developments around the many vaccine candidates have been apposite and reassuring.
I think the key thing to see is whether the product is safe or not, whether it has given adverse effects. And this is something that regulatory agencies look at. This is something that the Data Safety Monitoring Board of every trial looks at. So there are multiple levels of control built into the process. This is not a question you ask a vaccine company whether your product is safe or not.
You ask the regulator.
Of course, they will say that their product is safe. This is a question that you ask your country's regulatory agency. Are you convinced that this vaccine is safe? And we've had a case recently, well, actually 2 or 3 cases. The Russian vaccine wanted approval in India based on data in Russia, and the regulator said, no, do a trial in India.
Yeah.
And that's happening right now. They are, I think, finished phase 2 and going into phase 3. Similarly, Bharat Biotech and Serum went for accelerated approval.
Yeah.
And what did the regulators say? Show us more data. So I think all of this should build confidence that things are being done properly. Bharat Biotech and Serum would not have gone to the regulator. They went after Pfizer came to the regulator.
Yeah.
So Pfizer, without testing the vaccine in India, went to the regulator and said, look, I've been approved in US, I've been approved here, I've been approved there, give me an approval. So those who were fairly advanced in their trials in India also went to the regulator, and their logic would have been, If these guys can seek approval, why can't we seek approval? If I was heading one of these companies, I would do the same. Why not? Now, it's for the regulator to justify why it can be given, why it cannot be given. And I think regulator did the right thing. Said, you don't have enough data, come back with more data.
But could there be any risk for immunocompromised patients or pregnant women? Is there anything in particular to keep in mind?
Yeah. For example, if you are immunocompromised, then you should not take a vaccine which is based on a viral platform. You should take a vaccine that comes without a viral vector. So that's one. But see, all the interactions we don't know yet. But the question is, should you wait for 2 years to know that? Because you are prone to COVID today.
Yeah.
If you think you are living in a bubble and you're not prone to COVID, don't take the vaccine. But, if you go out, if you go to work, if you go open your shop and do business, if you go to a restaurant, you're always prone. We are in the middle of a pandemic. So therefore, you must protect yourself. Or either you change your lifestyle completely and stay at home and not do anything else. So that's what I said. The cost of taking a vaccine versus not taking a vaccine, you have to weigh it based on your personal choices.
Those who are hesitant or unsure of the vaccine's efficacy might also wonder why not wait for a few months after the vaccine is rolled out and see how everyone reacts, or why not just wait for herd immunity? So what if somebody doesn't want to get vaccinated at all? Mr. Jamil says, firstly, it's a personal choice. And as far as efficacy is concerned, it's hard to compare which vaccine is more efficient since the efficacy is determined in a controlled environment.
Well, after all, it's a personal choice. Nobody is going to grab you and inject a vaccine into you. I think the government has also made it clear that anyone who is eligible to get a vaccine and is willing to get a vaccine will get it. Firstly, it's going to be personal choice whether you want to get injected or not. The next question will be, should I take vaccine A or vaccine B? Which is better? Again, that's not a question that can be answered directly, simply because vaccines are tested against a placebo, against a salt solution. Two vaccines are not tested head to head against each other. So that question cannot be answered. Can you say that a vaccine with 95% efficacy is better than a vaccine with 90% efficacy? I don't think so. Simply because these are efficacy done under very controlled conditions of a trial. When a vaccine goes out in the population, things happen. Sometimes cold chain doesn't stay. Sometimes the vaccine is not injected properly. All those things happen, which drops the efficacy a little bit.
But he also cautions that even when people around us get vaccinated, it doesn't guarantee 100% safety from coronavirus for a non-vaccinated person.
What's the guarantee that you won't get it while everyone around you is getting COVID? What's the chance that you won't get it? Sweden tried this. Sweden as a country said, we will achieve herd immunity. Go look at news reports and see what's happening in Sweden. ICUs are full, hospitals are full, their mortality rate is among the highest in the world. And also, this virus is bad in a sense that you may survive the virus, but the after effects it leaves on your cardiovascular system, on your kidneys, on your liver, on your other systems is not something we fully understand. So yes, I would say that if you really want to be living your life the way you're supposed to be living your life, take the vaccine. The risk from vaccine is much less than the risk from COVID.
So what about those who have already contracted COVID-19 in the past? Do they need a vaccine? Dr. Jamil says that if somebody already has antibodies, then they can avoid a vaccine.
Well, there is merit in that argument. A vaccine will not give you better immunity than natural infection. And there are biological reasons for that, which I won't go into. So if you think you have had COVID, my advice would be go get an antibody test done. And if you are antibody positive, don't take the vaccine. The vaccine is at best going to give you a booster effect. It will not give you anything more than that. You are likely to be protected even if you've had mild COVID, no need to get a vaccine. Don't fall under this trap that people have had reinfection and all that. Out of over 70 million cases in the world, there are at best only about 20 or 25 reported cases of reinfection. And even that one is not confirmed whether they are really reinfections.
Or it's a new...
So don't fall in that trap. If you have antibodies, get yourself tested. If you have antibodies, don't take the vaccine. If you don't have antibodies, my recommendation is take the vaccine. But the government can't do that. Remember, if the government started screening everyone for antibodies before giving them vaccine, the cost and logistics is going to double. And that's just not advisable on a population level.
But even if the vaccines get fully approved, previously we've seen other treatments like plasma therapy or the use of HCQ or remdesivir getting a nod, but then also getting revoked. Is there any such chance with the vaccine as well? That, Dr. Jamil says, won't happen because the other treatments were not tested in a controlled manner like the vaccines are.
No, it won't. There is a very big difference that people don't realize. None of the medications, whether it was hydroxychloroquine or remdesivir or anything, were tested in a double-blind manner against a control. Vaccines are tested in a double-blind manner, random control trials in a double-blind manner against a placebo. So you exactly know the efficacy of the vaccine. We never knew about the efficacy of hydroxychloroquine or remdesivir or plasma therapy. They were all anecdotal reports. So there was never a controlled trial of any of this. And when controlled trials took place, then they fell apart. Vaccines have gone through controlled trials, and that's why you know the efficacy. So that's not going to happen to vaccines. Not at all.
If you like listening to this episode, please subscribe to the Big Story playlist for episodic updates. We're live on Apple, Google Podcast, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website and check out the podcast section. For any feedback, shoot an email to podcasts@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.